Hi guys, and welcome to today's reading vlog where we'll be sitting down together and locking in to finish 5 Christmas rom-coms that I'm in the middle of in the span of this one evening, because honestly it's about time I get it done, and so let's just jump right in. So for context, this is actually part 2 to the first video I made earlier on the same subject where I was reading 5 Christmas rom-coms and turning into the Grinch because they were absolutely horrible. And this season I actually had 10 on my TBR that I wanted to get to anyhow, out of which those 5 we finished in part 1. These are the other 5 that I wasn't able to get to in part 1, so this is technically part 2, but also I'm still a Grinch because they're horrible, which is why here we are. I am going to be reading all of these in the form of audiobook, so if that's not your cup of tea, you can probably just leave at this point, because I genuinely don't have the time, considering the fact that I have Bookmas and college running at the same time, to be actually reading physical or Kindle books, which is why here we are. That's what we're doing today. And because over the past few days I had really nothing to listen to as I was making my thumbnails every night for every Bookmas video, because I'm doing all 24 days, I already started all 5 audiobooks, listening to them as I was working on my thumbnail or doing college assignments and stuff that I could be listening to with audio, which is why here we are. I've already begun, which is why at this point all I have to do is lock in and finish all 5 of them in the span of this evening and then be done with it, because they're honestly the worst. I'm in the worst slump ever at this point because of them. All I have are issues with all of them, and at this point I'm not even excited for Christmas anymore because these books are genuinely putting me off it. So is that a horrible situation? Yes, but the only way to move forward and whatnot that I see is personally just finishing them and then starting a bunch of other maybe better books, which is why that's what we're doing today. Starting off with our first book. I already know which one I want to get done first, which is why I'm gonna go finish it off. Don't have a lot left on the audiobook, considering that was like not very long to begin with, and I'm listening to all of them sped up anyway, so I'll see you guys hopefully in a bit once I'm done. But that's number 1. And now rewind to a few days ago when I started it as I was like eating my snacks later in the night and making my thumbnail. Okay, so book number 1 is essentially called Nick and Noelle's Christmas Playlist or something like that, and already going into it I thought this could be potentially the best Christmas romance I've ever read, considering the fact that it's got Christmas, which is always the best. It's got romance, which, listen, that's my favorite genre ever. And then it's got playlists, and I love listening to music. I love making a bunch of playlists. If you go look up my Spotify, because I keep including it everywhere and whatnot, I have like a playlist for every single mood and every single season at this point. So this book was supposed to be right up my alley. It wasn't. So for context, for like a quick premise, this follows Nick. Essentially, he's finally getting back home after being finished with his post in the military and stuff. He's gonna retire or something like that, and so he's going back home. He's ready to just now settle down and live his life the way he's always wanted to, with his longtime girlfriend. Except when he actually gets there, she's been cheating on him the entire time and she never waited on him, and suddenly now they've broken up. His own heart is broken. He doesn't really know what to do beyond, and so at least he's got his best friend Noelle, who now he's gonna go out drinking with later in the night so he can just rub away his sorrows. Except as they go do all of that, as it turns out, they end up kissing each other in the middle of the heat of the moment and stuff, and suddenly the entire town saw that, and they know Nick is not with his ex-girlfriend anymore, and suddenly everyone's shipping the two of them together. So they start this like fake dating scheme wherein everyone will think that he's moved on from the ex now that he's with his childhood best friend. That also was supposed to work up my alley because it's my favorite trope ever. But the thing is, as they're going and fake dating, they're starting to fall for each other, but it may not work because he has always had these like big plans for himself, and he's wanted like the whole storybook ending and whatnot, so like a marriage, a picket fence, kids and whatnot. And her parents died earlier when she was like younger in this tragic accident, and ever since then she's always just been opposed to that idea specifically, and so she doesn't want it. And so that is a deal breaker between the two of them, but now since they're in love they need to figure it out, and that's the story. And all I'm gonna say is both of them need to go to therapy, because I feel like this was one of the books wherein, that trope that's always thrown in there that love can cure and fix everything. No, it cannot. But yeah, that's something that happened, because towards the end of the book she went through like her parents' like storage of stuff and whatnot, and she just had a couple conversations with him, and suddenly everything that was made up of her character from the very beginning is flipped on its end and whatnot, because suddenly she's changing her opinions on stuff. And all I'm gonna say is, please get therapy. Love does not fix everything. Please stop trying to market that, number 1. And number 2, these two people had the least amount of chemistry. I have more chemistry with my own closet and the fridge than these two had amongst themselves, because all I'm gonna say is, what the heck was that? They were better off being friends, and I'm so done with it. So I hate it every second. I'm just so happy to be over with it. And I don't know why these Christmas books always have some sort of cheating trope in it, be it some of the side characters, be it the exes and whatnot, be it the main characters, because you will see a recurring theme as we continue reading. But all I'm gonna say is, I'm done with these. That's all. And I'm done with awful people and awful books. And yeah, pretty covers cannot mask how bad these are turning out to be, which is why here we are, moving on. I'm just gonna give this like 2.5 stars because I hate it every second. And while I did want to read the second book in the series, I was reading this so I could get like background before I jump into that. I'm not going to. I've just decided that I'm not continuing the series because it's not worth my time. I didn't enjoy anything that happened in this book. Every single second I was bored out of my mind waiting for this torture and misery to be over. When I go to hell, this is the kind of torture I expect. I don't need it right now in this very moment, which is why all I'm going to say is I'm not going to continue, and I'm so happy that I made that decision, which is why moving on, I'll go pick up the next book. Again, listen as audio. I have an assignment, 2 of them actually, that I need to be getting done for college, and so I'll be working on that because it's like model engineering wherein you use paper to construct these like models and stuff. And while those I can listen to books in the middle, they require some sort of concentration as well, which is why I'm going to go work on them now, kind of get them out of the way and done, and then I'll come update once I actually have things to say about the next one. But hopefully things turn out better. I know they won't because I've started all the books and I don't like any of them, but we shall cross our fingers and pray that a miracle happens because that's what I need right now in terms of my reading. And here we are. That's it. See you guys in a bit. Bye. Okay, and I just finished up the next book as well. It's called A Merry Little Meet Cute. So now for a quick premise before I give you all the reasons as to why I hated it, because at this point every book in this video is gonna be one I hated. I'm a hater for life, I guess. And here we are. The concept for this one basically follows this girl called B, and she has this like OnlyFans account that she's been running for a little bit. She's really popular on there. Life is working out fine, except one day one of her like favorite producers and stuff, he calls her up and he asks her if she wants to star in a movie. And this has been like her lifelong dream and whatnot, so she decides that maybe this is going to be the next step her career is going to take in the right direction. So she's just like, okay, going for it, whatnot. She goes to set and whatnot. She's agreed to everything, and then she realizes that it's actually like a Christmas movie that's supposed to be like family friendly and clean for all sorts of audiences, and suddenly now she's not really sure what's happening. Basically, it's for something called the Hope Channel. So picture like a Hallmark movie in your head, and they cast her, and no one there apart from the producer actually knows what her real side gig is. So now she has to keep it under wraps but still record everything. And alongside her, the co-star is this guy called Nolan, and he's actually an ex-boy band member. So back in the day, he used to be part of this boy band, and then now at this point his career is in shambles because there was this one reporter back in the day who kind of reported this like event that kind of got him on his path down and whatnot, and now he doesn't have a lot to look forward to, but he needs something to still keep him afloat and pay the bills for his like younger sister and his mom and stuff at home and whatnot. So he takes the movie to kind of clean up his image and hopefully find more career opportunities and jobs lined up ahead because he needs the money and he needs to kind of clear his reputation. Except now the thing is, once they like come into contact, number one, he subscribed to her account so he knows exactly what she looks like, and number two, they start like hanging out and whatnot, and they start like not falling for each other necessarily, but starting things off physical, and from there they start falling for each other. But then the whole point of coming here on the set anyway was for him to clean up his act, and if her secret comes out and they think he's involved in whatnot, the media, they'll drag him again. He'll lose any chances he has left on the scope and whatnot, and suddenly there's a lot more stakes added in there. And then another thing happens wherein, you know, the reporter from back in the day who kind of messed up with Nolan's career and whatnot by reporting something, and then suddenly his stuff was down the drain. Basically, the reporter is back in town to now report on the movie because he wants to find like juicy gossip around Nolan, basically. And then he doesn't know that he's like close to like stumbling on a landmine because that secret, it's contained, but at the same time it could be released and whatnot, and suddenly a shit show could begin. So they aren't necessarily like be together and stuff, but they want something anyway, and that's basically the concept. And all I'll say is the premise is okay, execution was fine. The only thing is, if you want a book that is so insta-lovey right from the very first page, very physical and very insta-lusty, this is the one for you. right from the moment they see each other, they're both like in love with each other because they both were like fans of each other and whatnot. She's got like her bedroom full of like posters she stacked up of his face because like she used to be a boy band girl back in the day. And then he, you know, he subscribed to the account and stuff. And so all I'm gonna say is, if you want something like that, this can be your cup of tea. It wasn't mine because I hated honestly every single second. There was this one scene towards like the end and whatnot, or like the middle end I would say, wherein she actually has to be part of like making the scene for the movie where she has to like don a wedding dress, and so she comes out in it and he sees her. And keep in mind, they've only known each other at this point, not even been together for 2 weeks at this point, but he sees her and he's already like picturing things for the future, and I'm just like, wow, okay, that's the kind of romance we're getting published these days. But all I'm gonna say is, if this is your favorite book, good for you. It wasn't mine, not the end of the world. Reading everything is not necessarily everyone's cup of tea. It's subjective, and so that's okay. But this one was still better than the last book in comparison, because the last one was truly horrendous. So I think I'll give this like 3 stars, because towards the end I was invested in like the drama and stuff when the shit show actually begun storming up and you were actually trying to figure out what was going down, because that was kind of interesting. But then apart from that, nothing really had me. So it was an okay book. If you want to read it, you can. It's definitely longer than it should have been, and I wish we had more scenes wherein they were actually falling for each other and not their bodies in this, because again, not a fan of that. But then here we are anyway. I'm done with it thankfully now, and I can move on and never look back, because I hated this kind of. So now moving on to the next book. In the first video I recorded off this series, the part 1 of reading romances that I hate and then becoming the Grinch and stuff. The third book I actually read in that video was a reread, and I really enjoyed that kind of break in the middle of all these other books that I'm hating. So I'm thinking right now as well, I'll pick up the book that I'm rereading and kind of finish that out, because I'm loving my reread. It's just I want to break between all these horrible books right in the middle of it, so I can kind of charge on my reading before I throw myself back into the slump and read all these other awful books I don't want to be reading, which is why I'll go to my reread now and I'll finish that out, and as soon as I'm done I'll come speak to you about it. But that'll be the next book, and then we can continue on with the books I'm reading for the first time I'm hating, because like apart from the reread, all of these books are honestly horrible, which is why here we are. I'll go to that and I'll see you guys in a bit now once I'm done. The model engineering, like actual models that I'm still making, is not ready because that shit takes a lot of time. So I don't know if I'll get it done in time for tonight's video and whatnot to like post it and show you what it turns out like. But maybe in a couple days, if I have it done, I'll put it in a different vlog. So you see it then, you see it whenever, but that's still something I'm working on and that's still happening in the background, so that is there. I also want to catch up on reading journal at some point tonight, which is also something we can do, but again, we'll just have to see. So that's basically what's going on right now. See you guys in a bit now once I have the next book done, and that's it. Bye. At this point, it feels like I'm literally speedrunning this video because I don't know how I did it, but we have gone ahead and finished the next book. After this, I still have 2 more to finish for this video, but then at this point, I also need to go down and start getting ready to like have dinner and stuff, and then right after that is generally when I like to start editing for the video that I'll be posting that night, which is why we really have to speed things up now. Hopefully, I'll get the next 2 done really quickly soon as well, because if it goes the way this one did, then I should be done in no time whatsoever. And while I wish this one wasn't as quickly over and whatnot, the others I don't really care because I don't like them, but this one specifically, it was my reread. It's called Holidaze. Had the best time ever. If there's one rom-com you want to choose this year to read, just get festive, get in a wintry cozy Christmas spirit, this is the one. It'll give you everything you'd ever want from like a book. It'll give you like 2000s rom-com vibes, but it'll also give you like wholesome, heartwarming, sweet moments wherein you genuinely feel like warm from inside and you feel just so happy at reading it. And I feel like any Christina Lauren book will do that, but this one specifically for this time of the year is perfect. So if you're looking for a good romance, this is the one. Essentially, it follows Malin. She's in the dumps in her life at the moment because she's living with her mom at home. She's 26 or something like that, so in her head that doesn't really work out. And then also she hates her job, and there's this thing wherein her family and these other couple families kind of meet every year at this snowy cabin in Utah to spend their Christmas together, because they're like almost like best friends, family friends you can call it, because those people and her parents used to go to the same college together and that friendship has stuck. And then now looking back, she's on that trip or whatnot, except it's the end of the trip and she's actually heading back home, and she's done the worst mistake she could ever make on that trip romantically. So now she's kind of done with everything. She's just on her way back home and she's just like, oh my god, I hate my life, because everything that's going down is just a mess in comparison to what could have been. And because the trip is now over too, she's got to wait 1 year to meet those people. Except as she's leaving, she also finds out that that was the last trip ever that she messed up on, because that cabin is actually being sold. So suddenly everything's just like tipped on its end. She hates everything, and as they're driving away to the airport to kind of get back home, she makes this one wish saying that, universe, please show me what will make me happy. And the funniest part is, this is a Christmas book, keep that in mind. There's a truck full of Christmas trees that kind of comes and bangs into their car. They have a car accident, and I guess the takeaway you can take from it is that she dies. Except in the next chapter, she's opening her eyes again. She's in an airplane on the way to Utah, and as it turns out, she's kind of repeating the vacation and whatnot. So now every time she makes some sort of mistake, she ends up dying, and then she's back on an airplane on the way to Utah, on the way to their cabin trip and whatnot. And as it turns out, the universe is actually giving her like a Groundhog's Day loop to kind of find out what makes her happy and kind of stick with that, because that's what she asked for. Except now she doesn't really know what to do anymore, because at this point she's not sure how she can break out of the loop. But then also there's no consequences, because everything that happens in a loop, everyone who she does whatever with, they won't have memories of what happened the first time around, because she's repeating it. And because, listen, it's a loop, she can just do what she wants without consequences. And so suddenly she's chasing all these things that will like give her happiness that she wasn't like normally, because she's now getting like a second chance at stuff. Except now she's again unsure, because like there's a bunch of other factors factoring in, and then she's trying to figure other things out. And in the midst of everything, can she actually save Christmas once and for all this time around? So she repeats Christmas a couple times. She's still trying to figure out what's going down, and that's basically the book. And again, like I said, if you want a good, cozy, comfortable book which gives you like a balance of everything you'd ever want, like a perfect, almost like one of those old-timey Christmas movies we'd sit back and watch back in the day and whatnot, because genuinely this gives me those vibes. I feel like everything about it, from you trying to figure out the situation with the Groundhog's Day thing and whatnot, and how she's gonna stop it and all of that was interesting. The execution of the premise and whatnot is done so fabulously. The plot is so amazing to me. I feel like every time she repeats and whatnot, when you're slowly starting to lose attention, the authors do something that kind of reels you back in, whether they make it like repeat or whatnot, or they throw this in like curveball and stuff. And then apart from everything else, it's also got like the warm cabin sort of vibes that you'll want this time of the year, along with like found family and whatnot. And this like huge family, like this community of people that now find solace and joy and peace amongst themselves. And it's like so warm and so sweet, because their dynamic was unmatched. And then you have the romance, because that, again, Andrew and May, all I'm gonna say is I'm so obsessed with them, their dynamic, everything that goes down. And if you want a good book, again, just like a good book this time of the year, that feels, in my first review, the first time I read it a couple years ago, I said it feels like a hot chocolate on like a cold day. This is that book. So pick it up if you want to. Pick it up more of these authors' works, because genuinely their stuff is so amazing. I love going back to it, and I can't wait to read more of theirs, because their stuff, again, it's unmatched. They don't do romance like this anymore, which is the whole reason why they are my top 5 authors ever, which is why here we are, so happy with my reread. Gave me all the Christmas cheer and made me a believer again, only to now send me back to the slaughterhouse where I'll get shattered when I read the next 2, because I hate those books at the moment. So now I'm gonna go get back to reading. But this was a good break in the midst of everything, and I'll give it like 4.5 stars again, maybe 5 stars upon reread if I feel like it, because if I cannot stop thinking about it, that's just the way it's gonna be. But again, a great book overall, so happy I got to it. And yeah, now back to the other ones that I don't like, because we still have 2 left to go on the list, and here we are. Second last book complete. This one's called The Mistletoe Problem, and honestly, in my opinion, the only problem with this book was the fact that I picked it up in the first place and wasted my time on it. To be fair, I was listening to this on like Kindle assistive read, and so I think that was the reason I just couldn't care less, and it took me so much longer to get through it, which is why I'm honestly kind of done. But essentially this one, it's got this premise wherein we're following Elle. She kind of works as this like struggling actor. She's just trying to, do her gigs, pay the bills, and she's got this like awful agent. So that agent gives her like the shittiest jobs ever, which is the whole reason why she ends up running for like doing this elf job and whatnot during November, and suddenly she's hating all of it, but she's just gonna keep up with it because she needs the money. So one day, as she's in that elf costume running like another elf job, she's like walking to the washroom and back or something for like a quick break, and there's this guy she bumps into. He looks like a big city like mean lawyer and whatnot, and because she bumps into him, all his like papers go flying everywhere, and he like gets pissed off, and they exchange some like choice words and whatnot, especially about her like costume and stuff. And so she feels belittled, which is another reason why she doesn't like the city and she's just done with it all. So moving on from that interaction, she gets this like call at some point from her same shitty agent that there's this like random, not off the usual roster sort of job that's being offered to her if she wants to take it, and essentially it involves like directing this play in the small town. So she's supposed to move to like the small town called Mistletoe Valley for like the entire month of December and do their play there, and that's the gig. And because she's sick of the elf kind of situation, she figures okay, she'll just do that and whatnot and maybe it'll be better. And so she goes there, she finds the woman who's like behind it all over there, like a motherly figure, starts having a great time the first couple days there, and she's just like, oh my god, this could be the best month ever, and suddenly this could like bring back her spark in acting and her passion for it. And now on the other hand, our love interest is this guy called Nick. He is a big city lawyer. I think you can kind of see where I'm going with this. He's just sick of his city life, and now he's finally moving back to his like small hometown and stuff to kind of settle down there and open his own like firm over there and work from there, now helping the people over there that he's always loved. And so he's done with city life. He's going to the small town, and one day he walks into Deanna, I think she's like his godmother or something, her house. And guess who he finds there? That one girl he bumped into with the elf costume that he insulted. Elle. So Elle is working under Deanna. He is her godson who like spends time, I guess, over there, and so they keep running into each other. He kind of regrets the way he treated her that day because he was like in a shitty mood and having the worst day ever, and he saw a pretty girl and figured he'd take it out on her. Honestly, man-child, so sorry. But then moving on from that, he's now trying to like fix things between the two of them and whatnot, because he knows that she's going to be there for a month. He doesn't want to make things awkward, but at the same time she's pretty, so he has a crush on her and he just wants to be nice to her because pretty privilege. And so they start like hanging out and stuff. She accepts his apology. At some point the hanging out turns into more. Again, we can see where this is going. They're falling for each other, but at the same time there is like a due date, kind of like a set timing on these things, and at the end of the month she has to go back home to the big city, and he's gonna stay there because he's like signing his lease and stuff for the firm and doing all these like small town things, like actually being ingrained in part of the community, so he can't like uproot and come with her despite the fact that he wants to. And so it's this huge book of like push and pull, whether they're gonna make it work or not, and then all these reasons as to why the two of them should do it for each other. And all I'm gonna say is, this is yet another book where the woman, she wasted her potential by running after this man, and suddenly I don't know what she's going to do for the rest of her life. All I know is that now every winter she's going to be directing a play, and the rest of the year she's just going to be Nick's lover, I guess, with no other better point in life. So good for Elle. I'm just really pissed off. And if you want to read a book this Christmas that gives you like YN vibes with every single trope thrown in there, this is the one. There were actual scenes, I kid you not, they literally felt like they were picked up from like soap operas and shit, wherein there's like all these random things happening and the book is taking like a new direction every turn. And all I'm gonna say is, every cliched turn, if you want it in one specific book, this was it. This belonged on Wattpad, and even Wattpad writers can do better, that's all I will say. So yeah, I hated this. Another book that just didn't stick for me, and I don't understand why, because like everyone online loves it. So do we just like not read the same book, or am I just too picky? Because like every time something happened, number one, it was insta-lovey again, but then number two, all these like random things, it's all just so overdone and so overused, and it just kept happening in the book, wherein he's like converting her and she's converting him into all these other things, and he's like grumpy, except it's just like honestly pretend grumpy. That's what it felt like. Give the book another trope and she's like sunshine and like rainbows and sparkles, and suddenly she's losing faith in her acting career when she's found a new man. And another thing I found funny is the fact that at some point she wants to confide in someone and actually figure out her feelings about it all. And so she's like, I will go to the one person I always go back to every time something goes messed up, and my one comfort in life. And then apparently she has a sister who pops in out of nowhere, and she's like interacting with the sister. And good for you, you have a sister to lean back on, they're always the best. But we were not introduced to the sister until she was needed for the plot, and that's basically what's been happening the entire book in terms of like tropes and all these scenes that happen. Like random stuff is being introduced just to further the plot, and all I'm going to say is, not for me. So I'm going to give this the 2 stars that in my opinion it deserved from me. Again, reading is subjective. If you did like this book, sorry that I hated it, but I'm done with it, so I'm happy about that. I'm moving on to our final book, which hopefully won't be as terrible, but at the same time I just want it done with so I can go down and have dinner and then edit this video, get it out, because I'm done at this point. So that's what I will do. Honestly, if you just want a Wattpaddy YN book, this was it for you. But yeah, that it wasn't it for me because that's not what I wanted. And so moving on, hopefully the next read will be better. And yeah, and bye. final book is done. I'm so happy because at this point, after this review, I'm going and having dinner and not looking back at any point whatsoever. I still think there's one more Christmas romance I want to get to that wasn't necessarily on any of this roster or whatever, but I will get to it in the next couple of days, and that'll be the last one for the season because that's it. I'm done with my share of Christmas romances. I think I've had enough, and I'll keep my hopes out tuned for that one specifically, that it'll be good. But apart from that, yeah, even if it is, even if it isn't, I'm done. I'm nearly this close to the finish line considering my Christmas romance goal. So that's all. At least this one's done for this video. Basically, I read this book called My Favorite Holidate or something like that, and essentially, again, we've got cheating trope thrown in there with one of the side characters. Basically, we follow our main girl. Literally at this point, I'm even blanking out. I think her name was like Blaine, or was that the guy's surname? Hold on, let me think. Okay, I went and checked to confirm. His name is Wilder Blaine and her name is Fable. Tell me why I got that confused. I literally thought her name was Blaine for a sec, but no. And so essentially this book follows Fable. She has her boyfriend and he's like kind of like a douche, but she's just keeping up with it because he's like the cousin. So her friend is getting married to this guy and he's like the cousin of that guy, and so she's keeping up with it because she still thinks it'll like change and whatnot. He'll turn tables around, and she doesn't want to like make things weird for the dynamic because her friend and that guy, they're like getting... Wait, hold on. That was her sister. Sorry. Her sister and that guy are getting married. I got so confused with all these books I'm reading. Sorry. Her sister and that guy are getting married. So she doesn't want to mess things up for her sister's wedding, which is why she's keeping up with that guy. And so all is well. But essentially one day at this like dinner where they're like planning shit out. Keep in mind I read this about like a week ago or listened to it as I was making thumbnails. So it could be like honestly any bunch of items considering I've been going back and forth between 5 books at this point. But there was this like dinner I remember vividly happening, and you know, she's having like an okay time. Her boss is over there because he's like the guy her sister's marrying, her like to-be brother-in-law. He's like friend and whatnot. So her boss is there, the brother-in-law is there, her sister's there, their whole family and stuff, and then she with her boyfriend. She ends up catching him cheating on her with the culinary staff. I don't necessarily know what you'd call them, but the woman who is in charge of like preparing the food and stuff, but as a catering company, I think that's what. So the catering staff, he was like caught with the woman there and whatnot, and suddenly she realizes that she was just wasting her time on another man that didn't deserve it, a piece of shit, and he was cheating on her the entire time. So now she like breaks up with him, but she doesn't want things to be weird again for the wedding. So she and her boss, who was also in attendance at the wedding, Wilder, they end up making this deal wherein they'll like kind of fake date, but they'll make everyone make it look real and whatnot, so they'll be each other's like plus ones to the wedding. So she doesn't make herself look like desperate and stuff at the wedding, and things aren't like weird and whatnot in terms of atmosphere because the ex will be in attendance with the woman he was like cheating on her with. And so she doesn't want to make him jealous per se, it's just that she wants to show that she's not as desperate anymore, she's in a better place. And Wilder needs a date because at this point, for context, he is the best man of the wedding and she's the maid of honor, and everyone's just like bugging him to find someone and whatnot, or at least that's what I think the reason was. Again, memory is honestly shitty at this point, but basically they end up like taking each other as their dates and whatnot, except leading up to the wedding, because it's going to be a Christmas one, there's this 1 week they have to spend in this town called Evergreen Falls, which is essentially the series and whatnot, and there's like a bunch of like Christmas games that are being hosted and whatnot. So as they're pretending to be together, they have to like attend all these games together and like play in the competition and stuff. But then Wilder's also trying to show her how the boyfriend really should treat a woman and stuff, so he's like actually doing the duties of a boyfriend and stuff to show her that this is the treatment she should have expected all along. And it sounds sweet, but all I'll say is this book is like nearly 500 pages long, I believe, and so every 100 pages it changes plot. That's all I'll say, because like every 100 pages there's like a new trope thrown in. Again, there's like a change of something happening. At the beginning it was this, then later it changes to the Christmas games, then later there's another theme that comes up, and then after that there's this point wherein he's trying to belittle the ex-boyfriend and the ex-boyfriend catches on to what these two are up to, and so there's that drama, and there's like a bunch of other things going on. But all I'll say is everyone who loves this book, again, so sorry, I'm a Grinch, you have to deal with it. This was really supposed to be up my alley because fake dating and slow burn, but I hated it. I hated every second. And there was this one bit when, as like a endearing like term of nickname and whatnot, he's calling her Elf. So I'm traumatized. I think that's all I will say. And moving on, I absolutely hated this. Again, it wasn't as bad as the other two, like I gave 2 stars and stuff, so I'll give it 3 and I'll give it that grace, because there were a couple cute scenes. I was, giggling at some bits, and then there were like sweet moments and stuff. And he's a single dad for context, and he has like a daughter, and at some point the daughter's like helping him plan dates and stuff with this girl, and so I thought all of that was sweet. But the actual situation that was going down between the two of them and stuff, number one, again, insta love, physical. Can we not do that anymore? But at the same time, I understand why it has to happen in these books, because if they're set over Christmas period, they're probably set over 1, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks at max, and so obviously it feels rushed and like insta love, unless there's a trope like childhood friends to lovers thrown in there, like in a Holidaze, which was perfect. But because that wasn't here, they have to rush the romance anyway for it to be able to work in the Christmas period, so they can market the book as a Christmas romance, which is why in my opinion it's not working, because like every book has it at this point. I can't even fix it, I can't run away from it. Any alley I turn down, this is what I get thrown in my face, which is why here we are, 3 stars. And all I'm gonna say is I wish it was better, but it wasn't. And all I'm gonna say is, again, the whole reason I read this in the first place is because I want to read that other Christmas romance I really wanted to get to, the last one that I'll get to in a different Bookmas video, one of the last ones you'll be getting. And so that'll happen because that's actually the second one in the series. It's called Merry Little Xmas, and that sounds good, the plot and whatnot. And because I wanted good context on that before I went into that, that's the only reason I read this, because that's like even bigger, 500 pages. And now I'm not sure if I like this author's like storytelling and writing style, but I will persevere because I've been seeing only good things about that, and hopefully that turns out better than this. But so far, yeah, this was this book, and all I'm gonna say is none of the romances in this video that I read for the first time worked out for me, because the only saving grace of the video was the reread, and so that's kind of shameful, but at the same time it was kind of expected. So here we are, I'm done with this video at this point, and I'm so happy to be, because like I don't want to read any more of these. All I want to read is that second one in the series of Evergreen Falls, the second one after this. And the characters, it's so funny to me, they weren't even introduced, so let's pray it gets better and whatnot. But yeah, here we are, that I am done with this video though. Thankfully, after that I won't be reading any more Christmas romances, probably this year, probably the next, really just depends on my mood at that point. But regardless, we have reached the end of the vlog at this point today. If you guys had a fun time coming along with me, despite me being the biggest grump and complaining about every single thing, like, comment, share, subscribe. YouTube things, you know how to do them, and I'm still working on the models, so if I get them done in time for the end of Bookmas, you will get to see what it turned out like. And if I don't, maybe in a new video next year and whatnot. But until then, that's the plans. Maybe I'll go ahead and redo my nails and something too at this point while I listen to the last book I want to read for this Christmas. So we shall see. Pray that that is the one true read that turns out to be good for me, because otherwise we just found a bunch of horrible reads that I didn't end up enjoying anyway. And here we are. Now that we have reached the end of this vlog, I'll see you tomorrow for our daily routine for the month of December for Bookmas. And while this is one of the last times I'll be saying it, and that's kind of sad in retrospect, I'm still saying it because I have the chance. So I'll see you tomorrow, and until then, take care, stay safe. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you weren't pissed off about all of my opinions in this video, because like I said, reading is subjective, it's not the end of the world. And regardless, I'll see you now directly tomorrow. So until then, bye!